Hello, everybody. Welcome. Rosa Psych Investigator. Hello, Everybody, welcome. Rosa Psych Investigator. So, guys, miraculously, now I am recording earlier. It generally is good when I record earlier. Sometimes, I think my natural tendency is to do recordings later, but today I was doing the research and I thought, you know what, let me just do it because I don't know, I always have this like anxiety. I'm going to do the video, and sometimes I don't end up doing the video. So let's just do it because there's a lot to discuss. There's a lot of news items to go over, and that is always better to go over earlier. So let's do that. But before we do that, let's do the protection. I have a selenite stick. Somebody one time recommended and said, "Oh, Rosie, you should have selenite sticks for this." And I hadn't thought about it. And here I am, just because it helps, okay, clearing, protecting. So I'd like to ask for protection, a beautiful ray of light coming on top of my head as I breathe in. I feel my lungs as I breathe out. I create a circle. I create a circle. I step into it. I step into it. I feel protected. I feel connected. I like to ask that information come only from the highest sources and that it create the good alone of the good inside us. Okay. So guys, thank you by the way, thank you so much for your comments. I replied to some of them. I want to reply to more of them because thank you so much. It really means a lot. I love seeing your stories of having relatives meddle and sometimes even steal inheritances and meddling and cases like that. So it was helpful also to hear your advice. I haven't yet heard back from the attorney. He said he's going to review it anyway, but I'm glad, as you know, I'm glad I got this attorney, but it's crazy, right? And I know it's TMI, but I think it's okay. Not TMI. I think some of you were happy to hear because, guys, it's so common. I realize it's really quite common, happens quite often. So anyway, just so I think it's okay to say this, right? The person who did this, I said it was a relative, but it's actually my stepdad's favorite nephew. Can you believe it? This is like even makes it worse. It's even more heartbreaking because out of the other nephews that he has from this one of his sisters, that's the one that he's closest to. He helped his career a lot because he's a professor, like my stepdad is, and that's how he pays him back, right? Like, can you imagine? It's funny. I got the makeup, but it's self-soothing. I feel it's self-soothing. Okay, because even just to tell you guys openly like this, it is. Can you imagine? Like you're 80 years old, you're having some memory issues already, and the person that you thought I thought I could trust him. Before the money topic came, right? It is what it is. But thank God, I think my mother, everybody was like, "What? Selling? Are you kidding me?" So anyway. So okay, guys. So and if you haven't if you want to learn about more about this, I talked about it on yesterday's video, 20 on the August 26th. Okay, so that's it. Now let's move on to other subjects. And so the other thing that is very recurring is this feeling, this energy in the air that is very dark. It's dark, but it's also like just I this feeling of unease. And it was also good to see that so many of you also feel this sense of unease because it's just there. Okay, and it's there, it's gonna be with us until the trash goes. Okay. And it is what it is. And it's interesting. I got this sunlight because the topics are heavy today. And we need protection as much as possible. So anchor yourself, right? Because we're gonna go into some dark people's. Okay. So hey, let's go. Guys, it's always good, right? When I organize, I like it. I'm gonna praise myself, but and like I said, there's days when I'm more just chatting, and other days when it's more like this. Now, this is something that some of you have commented on and asked me about on yesterday or and such. It's that's why I was like, I don't. But we have to talk about it because and someone said I just want to mention someone left a comment and said, oh, he's doing this. Oh, and they actually believe that they're like Christian. And I said, no, like I've studied Peter Thiel and for years, decades even, more than like about a decade. So it's not these people are Machiavellian. Okay, so look up Machiavelli. It's not they claim one thing, they do another. Okay, so and think about it. This day and age, just think about it. What kind of person would be giving lectures promoting the Antichrist? Okay, really. So because that's what he is doing, okay, today, not today, right in this moment in history. So, okay, so let me share this with you. Um, okay, 1 second. Let me share the news here. This is from um, it's Nerdreich by Gil Duran. He is a journalist that is very focused on the tech bros and the fascist ideology. So basically, I'm just going to scroll down here. So this is the lecture series. The Commonwealth Club is this place that does a lot of lectures in San Francisco, and it's creepy, right? Imagine you were, and a lot of those tech bros love Peter Thiel and follow everything he says. So at this day and age, imagine you're good. This creep is going to give a lecture on the Antichrist. Okay, so look at this, like, and even guys, if you click on this, let's see if we can like just look at that. Oh my God, ew, I'm like freaked out, like yuck. Like, look at how Peter is a technology entrepreneur and investor, has spent much of his career writing and speaking about how his Christian faith informs his understanding of the world. Disgusting. Okay. So, and he's a pseudo intellectual. He likes to think of himself as this very, deep thinker. Yeah, I'm a deep thinker. But anyway, so I'm like, okay, clearing myself here. Okay, and but just so you know, I'm not gonna go find this one article or a video actually. The New York Times has a conservative opinion writer named Roos Hat, something like that. Ross, some I'm sorry, Ross, something like that. I think his name is Ross Douthat, something like that. I'm sorry, something like that. It's okay. But he interviewed Peter Thiel, and he went kind of viral. This was recorded as a video, and he's like, "So, what about the Antichrist? Are you the?" I think he asked him point blank, and he was like, "Oh, because he stutters sometimes. No, 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 I'm not." Right? I was saying, like, what kind of person, right? It's just interesting. I find it interesting. And Peter Thiel, there's also videos of him saying that he um he thinks, Jesus is just, it's like they always pick the victim. They always side with the victim. Jesus is too woke, he said. Something like that. I'm just saying, hmm. It's not that you have to be religious or like super like Jesus freak or something, but you know what I'm saying? It's kind of when he puts the two and two together, there's a person and he's like promoting Antichrist. Guys, the visions that were, and I saw from your comments that many people are having visions, like I was saying, explaining, many people are having these visions that this time of spiritual reorganization, let's say, is coming for the better, I think, and those people. Maybe that's a great first question. So, okay, actually, that's a great question. What is going to happen to people like Thiel, given that many of us see this? Okay, hold on a second. This is a reminder. Oh, Alexa, wasn't it? I did not know, really. Alexa can be helpful, but I always forget to turn her off um, while I'm making videos. So, but the reminder was, it's a reminder, start making a video, but I'm early. Good. Okay, so going back to the question, what, oh, What is going, so I'm reading, I'm like, what the hell did I just write? Going to happen to people like Thiel, given that many of us see this moment of spiritual ascension happening. Is that right? Is that right? The word ascension. Okay. Spiritual, moment of spiritual intervention. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So before we get into, right, what Peter Thiel's doing with his Antichrist kind of situation, what is going to happen to people like Thiel, given that many of us see this moment of spiritual intervention happening? So, interesting. It is. I laugh. I don't know if it's funny, but so I see this image um, that I had. Remember my friend's dream yesterday, where there was these things would open up in the sky, and there would be these angelic creatures coming down, or something like that, like this light event that's short, but she sees it, she saw it happening, that it felt symbolic, but almost real. Okay, so, and this is a representation of this moment that I think is going to come soon. In the way, does it make sense, guys? What I'm saying is that like there's something that feels like heaven intervened. That's what it feels like. So what I see is this in this little hole that I saw, that the in a lot of paintings, like Renaissance paintings and other types of paintings, you see that like depicted in the ceiling sometimes even. So there's this opening in the clouds, and it shows that there's Peter Thiel like putting his head thing as if to say he thinks that he can come and take the spot of God's, but for his own benefit. Meaning he can, oh no, listen, I'm not that guy. I can come in. Heaven doesn't need to work so much. We're gonna take over. We're gonna put a algorithm, and that's what it is. But so he tried saying he tries. They try to turn themselves into gods, but it doesn't work, because I see that then it's just like he's like, hey, I'm the revolution. I'm the spirit, the dark revolution, such a thing, something like that. But then I see that as he's doing this, then divinity steps in, and almost like when you have depictions in Greek tragedies, where you have like the Zeus that come with the superpower and they usually take down the person who thinks they're better than they really are. It's often about hubris, right, and all that arrogance and thinking that you're God when you're human. So so basically it shows that there's this divine intervention, and like they zip him or zap like something like that, and he goes back to being melts away, something like that. So it's saying, yeah, and they're telling me here, Rosie, the the evil dragons, it shows this fire mouse, fire coming from the mouth. They can sense just the way you can sense. They can sense that there's a change coming, and they want to take advantage of it. They think this is how delusional they are. They think they can, and they think they're better than God. And of course, it does not matter that they think of themselves as Christians. It's not about what they think, it's about what they do, right? You can call yourself just the way the person can call themselves a great parent, but abuse their children behind the scenes, or even become a serial killer. It's not about what comes out of the mouth, it's about what the person does and what's in their heart. So they use this as a cover, right? And they're telling me, Rosie, you've looked into them. You know their activities behind the scenes. They are truly evil, truly, truly dark people exploiting younger men and such. So this is it. So in other words, yes, the spiritual moment will weaken their power 100%. Okay, so that was this part. All right, so now let's go to just a basic question. Okay, we'll just copy this, and then it's easier to just copy and paste, because I'm not the fastest typist, guys, to be honest with you. Okay, so Okay, so why is he doing this? Is he the Antichrist? That's why I was like, heavy questions. Wow, I see. Wow, I see when I look into him, I see this like really, literally this dark energy, like shadow energy, and it always warms inside of his stomach or intestine, like all this like, "Ugh." It reminds me of this, something like about this film from the 60s, sci-fi film called The Invasion of the Body Snatchers, something like that. And it was this film where like these whatever creatures took over people's bodies and they go, ooh, ooh. So he's trying to talk and it's because it's like he's possessed with this darkness. And it's saying, Rosie, the thing for him is that he is a very awkward person, and you can tell the amount of tension he carries. And it's because he's a very evil person, yet he has to and feels like pretending to be a productive citizen and a respectable person when he is in fact a monster. And that's almost as if the monster in him is coming out. So, wow, wow. Okay, I looked into this, guys, too. Long story, what's because it's coming out. So the Nazis, by long story, the core elite of the Nazi party, especially what was his name? I have his face. I'm not that her. I forgot his. Honestly, it doesn't matter. The guy with a small chin. I forgot his name. Doesn't matter. Himmler. Himmler. That's still Himmler. That's him. So Himmler had this obsession with the occult, and that you could say that are we maybe we are here, but it was all this dark kind of like the pagan. I'm not saying the pagan, of course, no, I have nothing against pagan religions, but it was just like this search for this like weird kind of sacrificial type religion. I think he does this. I think he looked. Well, obviously he can't talk about it, right? But I think he practices this Nazi religion behind the scenes, some sort of like Nazi cults that goes way back from the Himmler. You can look it up, guys. There's a book, famous book about it, saying a Nazi and the occult. It exists. Okay, it's a book written by a scholar, not a conspiracy theorist or anything. So tracing their beliefs and such. Okay. So anyway, so I see that what he does is like that he is like the thing, the darkness is coming out, and he wants to kind of make people believe that the Bible was wrong. No, no, no. Listen, there's a new reading out here. Maybe the Antichrist was not so bad. Maybe Antichrist is just people that are not so perfect. Okay. Because I see that the darkness in him is like trying to come come out and like take over. And but again, he makes an enormous effort to hide his true self, which is this Prince of Darkness kind of. I don't say I'm seriously, okay. So again, why I was saying because I see that the reason why he's doing this is that he wants to prepare the population for what's going to come. It may not be pretty, maybe like some genocide like thing that he is really excited about. Okay, guys, and I see that this maybe a conspiracy theory. I don't know. I see there was like just I have to tell you this. I'm sorry. There's some just say it. Like he has these like gallons of blood stored that he famously he did that, injects the blood of children to him, right? This is already is a little like sketch slash evil, but he has all of this and he's like, I have enough blood, and he drinks it. Even, oh my god, it's so, I'm sorry guys, it really is. I warned you, okay, about this. So he drink, honestly, yes, so he, I think he's the embodiment of that thing, yes, of lucid, right? Yes. So okay, Spirit, how do we do say, in a way, Rosie, you have to speak about it, and you should not be afraid, because the light wins over the darkness, and that will be the lesson for everyone alive at this time. But we will see that the demons are outing themselves, because that's how it is. The demons stay hidden. Their activities have been hidden, and at times in history they come out and they want to kind of brag about it, and that's when they're disempowered. So when you speak about them, they lose power. Does that make sense? Because the secret, in a way, is what keeps them fed, quote unquote, right? But he's saying, yes, I think he has this like this idea. This is something he's spoken openly about for since almost the very beginning, that he wants to live forever. but I see that like literally, guys, gallons of blood that he has, I don't know, frozen in some his house somewhere. I don't know, and he like, defrosts like, and then drinks and injects himself with. I'm not actually kidding. Okay. Wow. And it tells me, Rosie, that's why he has liver problems, because he does a lot of growth hormones and all those things, and also drinks. It's a form of cannibalism, vampiric thing. Sorry, guys. I need to move on from this because it's a little heavy. So, okay. Ooh, okay. Now, next. So, what is going to happen during this lecture? Wow, interesting. I see that there's a lot of these kids, like those Doge types that go to this thing, but some of them that are not completely 100% taken by the darkness are like Christian, because I'm like, oh, Peter Thiel's actually Christian, he's very religious, but they pick up the blasphemy situation. Not just that, but the thing in the air is too heavy for them. I see some of them throwing up, actually. They pick it up, and it changes them for the better, in the sense that they realize like that's a bridge too far, and they start distancing themselves from this. So, oof, okay, and then that's where it's like, let's move on. Okay, all right. So that's it for the moment. So I had to talk about this. Okay, all right. So here is, guys, I have a lot of receipts here. Um, Recruit. Okay, so I'll show you the article in a little bit. So this was reported, I think I may have talked about it in passing, I believe. Okay. Um, that apparently JD Vance tried to, oh, here it is. I'm going to show you this one, okay? Because it's helpful. Okay, so Zaluzny declined call from Vance days after Oval Office clash, Guardian reports. Okay. So this is the man that, and very honored person, very honorable. He refused okay, any attempts, okay, to get influenced. So, okay, so this is that. This is a part. And okay, it is so basically, let me actually read. Let's see here. Let me find, we talk about this. You know what? Do I go to the, so the he declined, it just says that he declined the call. Now, there's a lot more that I'm going to talk about this situation, because Paul Manafort, just to tell you how shady it is, Paul Manafort was also one person. Remember, guys, just to give you a refresher, Paul Manafort was one. Okay, let me, you know what, guys, it's so much. I know it's a lot. Okay. Okay. So this thing was buried in the lead, right? It was in this whole article. Let me actually go, because this is all almost the same. This is how, guys, I'm sorry, I may sound a little bit confusing, because it's so scary, the word. It's just so obvious and sad, because the article that I'm going to show you shows how JD Vance is part, and it's part of one of the questions I have for today about JD Vance. He's aligned with Paul Manafort, who we know from the Mueller report was basically a member of the GRU, the Russian military operations, okay, whatever service. Remember the military spying unit, like high level, right? He worked with the guy Kulimnik. Remember this whole story back in the day in 2018, something like that. Okay, so The fact that JD Vance is working with Paul Manafort, okay, we know, of course, of Trump, and Trump and Manafort have always worked together, but what else do we need, right? We know that these people are, again, working with and for Russia to further Russia interests, okay? All right, so General Envoy, future Ukraine President Valery Zaluzhny's London waiting game. Okay, so refusal to take calls from JD Vance after Zelensky Trump showdown reflects political tightrope war hero has walked since being fired as army chief. Okay, to put it really big. Okay. JD Vance's team was on the line and wanted to set up a call with Valery Zaluzhny, Ukraine's ambassador to the UK and formerly the commander in chief to the army. The vice president had been instrumental in provoking confrontation between Trump and Zelensky in the Oval Office from his perch on an adjacent sofa. Now, Vance and others in Trump's orbits were apparently sounding out potential alternatives. Vance's team tried various diplomatic and other channels to get through to Zaluzhny, said one of three sources with knowledge of the efforts who spoke in the condition of anonymity, right? Okay. Okay. Now, okay, on the one hand, he remains loyal to the government he serves. On another, many, both at home and abroad, see him as Ukraine's natural next president and are pushing him to launch a political campaign. Now, guys, honestly, I don't. And by the way, let me pause here and tell you something. Pro-Russia persons have been pushing this, and even Putin himself saying that Ukraine need election. They need election. They are not happy. They are not happy with Zelensky. There are protests. There are things happening. And we know very well that Russians, this is a long story. It's been documented by, again, the Mueller report and others. The Russians sent chaos agents to Ukraine to create protests and disrupt a lot of things. And again, this is happening. Okay, so this all the talk about Ukrainian elections, just so you know, comes from the Russian camp, and this is the origin of all of this. Okay, so now let's go back. So my question, really, the part that I want to show you that relates to us is I don't want to read this whole thing. I just want to go back here. So Manafort. Okay, let's see. Okay, here it is. Okay. Okay. This part talks about he's the ambassador to Ukraine in the UK, and he's received visitors. So those visitors have included Ukrainian MPs, civil society activists, representatives of wealthy business people, and even the disgraced former Trump advisor Paul Manafort, who visited Zaluzhny to pitch his services as a political consultant in any future election campaign. Zaluzhny turned down the offer. Okay, so we're going to stop that. Uh, okay, by the way, I'm going to remove this part that I'm not saying that this person is not, I don't think he's pro Russia. I'm just saying that that's always the agenda of Paul Manafort, right? And I'm sure they're trying to turn somebody, and they hate Zelensky so much because Zelensky is so charismatic and successful that they're willing to back anybody who was going to go against Zelensky, essentially. Okay, but the fact that he's back and okay, and contacted, I'm sorry, I cannot say his name very well. Zaluzhny, 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 Zaluzhny. Is that right? Zaluzhny? Is that right? Is there a knee, right? Zaluzhny? No, no, it's a Y. I. Zaluzhny. Okay, Zaluzhny. And offered his services. So the article discusses how this man seems to be honorable. Okay, really. But look at all the shady folks surrounding him. Okay, and we know that the Russians and their employees like Paul Manafort are very shady. But the fact that JD Vance offered this, so it's so it doesn't make sense. The Paul Manafort thing and the JD Vance are connected. So how? Let's ask like this. Okay, let's see. Will and just a simple question about Manafort. With Manafort, because we have documented evidence that he works for the GRU, right? Will Manafort be able to elect another Ukrainian, another pro-Russia Ukrainian president like he did in the past? And just a reminder again that the person that Paul Manafort helped elect had to escaped in the middle of the night using a helicopter all the way to Moscow because he was ousted by there was it was I forgot the name, it was a revolution. People went on the streets and kicked him out. Okay, he did in the past. Okay, so in other words, is he going to be able to do the same thing? We just need to ask this question, not that it's necessarily about this moment, but it will tell us a lot. Okay, so what's going on with Manafort? So it shows me first he was like his head down when he had even gone to prison, and then he went through a period of like recuperation, and he stayed alive by not saying, right, by saying not saying anything in public. And then he's like his head is up again and he's back. Oh, I'm back, I'm gonna make a lot of money. So he goes, okay, now tell me more. So what happens next to him? Mm. What happens to Manafort? So he goes to London to meet with him. Tell me what happens next. And then he comes back, and that he he's not like he's almost like he's ashamed. He knows he's done something wrong and he tries to hide. But then the next guy's that I have to tell you, I do see this image keeps repeating, very graphic, like as if his throat had been slit, and he's lying on the floor, on a pool of blood. So it looks like the fact that I see first he comes back and then his head is down, to me signifies that the government has changed, and again he's in shame. But what I mean by that is that he knows he's done something wrong against the country, our country, and at least if he is being promoted, he justifies it mentally by saying, well, but it's work, I'm successful, they need me, I'm good at what I do. But then the position like this, it's when he realizes that he is guilty. Not he realizes, he knows he's guilty, but he also has to play the victim, right? Oh, I'm very sad, I'm sorry I did this, but he knows he's doing wrong things and all of that. Okay, and to be fair, we know that a person in his position, it probably isn't the is at risk from being unalived, quote unquote. But that does not justify choosing this path. Does it make sense? Because he chose this path a long time ago, and we know that he and there it's no wonder that he and what's his name, Roger Stone, were business partners, right? So okay, all right. So that's this part about Zelenskyy. Now, Zelenskyy and Paul Manafort. So now about JD Vance. Okay, let's go back. I wrote down questions even. Okay. Uh, so the question here is, what is JD Vance doing? Trying to basically oust Zelenskyy on the down low. Who is directing JD Vance's actions? Peter Thiel, Russians, who? What will happen to JD Vance as a result of this? Now, I'm saying this because I don't believe that JD Vance has ideas of his own. He was recruited pretty much as soon as he graduated law school. He went to work for Peter Thiel, and he's been basically shaped by Peter Thiel his whole time. I think he's a total empty vessel. So this is why I'm asking, because he's doing something that is so overtly pro-Russia, right? And my question is this: like I said, I don't think he has any initiative, and his one and only mentor is Peter Thiel. So does he have a Russian direct him, or is it Peter Thiel who tells him what to do? Okay. Yes. Well, good job. Good job, JD. Good job. And I see that he opens up. There's almost like a script, like a rolled out paper. Uh, Here's the list of the to-do list. And what that's great. This is how we're going to do this. Is how we are positioned. Wow. Wow. It tells me something else, guys. Okay. I have another question here. I'm sorry, today is dark, right? But we have to look at this. it shows me something that one of the things that Peter Thiel likes, and something that I've talked to you guys about before, is this book called The Sovereign Citizen. Now, Sovereign Citizen is a book by a British gentleman whose son actually was involved in Brexit. And it's basically a sci-fi sort of economics book that advocates for cryptocurrencies and the end of the banking system. And that's what Peter Thiel is very interested in. And that's something the Russians really want. Okay, so in other words, the answer here, yes, it's Peter Thiel, and Peter Thiel aligns with the Russians on this. And yes, he communicates with JD Vance directly. If not directly, then he has some sort of assistant or intermediary, right, to give him updates. And let me show you. Okay, this is important. I say this is time to show. I think hold on a second, right? Okay, I'm going to show. So, you know who Alexander Dugin is? Alexander Dugin is a fascist figurehead, is a very important high-level person in Russia, and very, very, very ultra right, and he's on Twitter. So I follow him because it's, to me, it's useful to understand. Um, okay, to understand what the Russians want. So that's why I follow several high-level Russian accounts. And also, I'm going to share this with you. Okay. All right. So, okay, share. You see here, it seems things in the US once more return to initial plan. MAGA didn't lose the vibe. Less Ukraine, less Israel. More arrest Soros and liquidate FRS. Elon is back attacking Starmer. Great. Here we are again. Now, so then I looked up, guys. I didn't know what app. I thought it was like something related to Federal Reserve. So I looked it up, and it actually is Federal Reserve System. So Alexander Dugin, who obviously I think is close to Putin, he's the far right fascist with all this anti-Ukraine ideology. Also, so he is saying we want to liquidate the Federal Reserve System. Okay, so this is good. Then remember the whole thing with Lisa Cook, fire Lisa Cook, right? And all that. I talked about it yesterday. I don't believe it was successful, but that's their goal. Okay, so the question that I have here, it's a hard question, but it's good that we do it today, right? Because, okay, overall, how far will they go? Okay, so they want to destroy the American currency, not just the dollar, but this I think it's called SWIFT. You know, it's this international system of money transfers and all that. It's all connected. Because if it blows up, then it's chaos, and the Middle Ages can start again, basically, right? There's no more fun. There's no more money. There's no more. It's like, oh yeah, back in the day of the caves or whatever, right? And I mean, this whole whatever that is. Oh yeah, just get a crypto coin that is all these things are so extremely complicated, so easy to defraud. It's the Wild West. That's what they want. Okay, so I'm protected here. So how will they succeed, and how far will they go? Well, let's see. Okay, I see. Interesting. These big gates, and it's interesting. It shows me back to Wall Street. Remember when I went on that walk? And there's a stock exchange and Alexander Hamilton. You know, maybe I should ask Alexander Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton. Will they succeed? How far will they go? He's like this. We have checks and balances, but it doesn't seem like right now it's strong enough to say no. They will not. It shows me again that they are hitting the gates, but the gates are too strong. And their hands are weak and not enough of them. It's saying there are very wealthy people that are very organized and they're hitting it, but it shows me they can only jump punch through cardboard, not even the metal is too strong. So, and he's saying they could try to start fires, but the building stands, and I don't. So And I don't see, no, no, it's saying we're going to have to put stronger walls. Yes. But I don't see them succeeding. No. And it's saying they're like, oh, if only we had let the financial crisis go through without rescuing anybody, the whole thing would have collapsed. But we want their Trump's people, they want to destroy everything and not rescue anything, right? That's their goal. To destroy, they want to destroy the US as is. So how far will they go from where we are today? They may try to fire someone, but I don't see them succeeding. I see again Jeremy Powell standing very strong, like I had seen in the past. And tell me about this guy Dugan. Wow, it's interesting. I've seen this before, I think. I see him in this really scary prison that whoever it becomes the next uh Russian, whatever, after, because I think they're Putin's gonna die. There'll be a transitional person, most likely Medvedev, because he was also a transitional person in the past. At the very beginning of Putin's presidency, the first one, he was picked by Putin to take over. He did, and then Putin was like, "I want power back," and he left because Putin orders everybody around. So I see that whoever comes in that is not pro Putin and not part of them is gonna put them in like some really scary prison, like the ones they put Ukrainians in. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, please, no, no, no," like this. So he's gonna burn in hell, yeah, on this earth and down. Okay, so no. And I see the way the moment he's arrested, they grab him by, because I think he has a long hair, grab him by the hair and just throw him in this like dungeon. Oh, guys, I'm sorry today. I'm going for a walk after this. It's good to do early, right? Because it's dark. But I think this is a moment that we have to see these things. Okay. So okay, Alexander Hamilton, tell us, do we need to prepare for something? Because I'm almost like in those interests, Alexander. I don't feel him very strongly. Um, like not as you would think you. I thought you were like very outspoken. I saw the musical. Are you no? No, he's just it's saying, okay, okay, Rosie, this is the thing. We went through a massive war, the Revolutionary War, and all that. We didn't have the time to be all freaked out about shit. We had to survive, and that's why we don't get too emotional about things, because there were moments in our revolution that we could have died, and so many people died. So you have to keep your eye on the prize and not get distracted by their actions. Okay. So that's what he's saying. He seems very calm. It makes me feel calm and say, that's right, it makes sense. So keep your eyes on the prize and keep, right, when you have a goal like this, that yes, the media is all repeating the agenda and and the situation from their perspective. You have to remember what is true and what is right and what will come to pass, because it will come to pass. America will not become the new Russia. And it is saying, wow, there will be an island for them, because I see, almost like Ellis Island, like some place for those people that work. They will have to put them away in Guantanamo. I'm serious about it. Something like that. You can't let them around anymore. Once this whole thing, right? Say one thing at a time, Rosie. First, trash is gonna go. He's gonna go in. Interesting. I see he shows me like boots. He wore specific boots, different boots, and he's kicking trash, like kicking. Sort of sorry, he's gonna be kicked out. That's what he's telling me. So, wow, guys, long. Okay, this was a long one. I have a lot more to talk about. So I think what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna post this, okay, because there is more to talk about, but I don't want it to get very overwhelming. But but that's it for now. Okay, there's more. The next thing I'm gonna talk about is something related to Greenland, Social Security, and all that. So, okay, but that's it for now. So, thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you soon, tomorrow. Bye bye. Bye.